What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Another exciting episode of the Download Queue, episode 35. It is September 15th. Beautiful Sunday. Joined once again by Kyle, survived the fires, did not burn alive, living in literal hell in California.
It's so funny because they're like the next day, the wind blew all the smoke away from us and temps dropped dramatically. You wouldn't have even known that there was and still is a fire going on in the mountains because it's just hazy, but you don't smell the smoke. It's been 76, 78 lately degrees, so it's just wild. Very, very weird.
I love that. I love that we were on the one day it was still happening then.
Yeah, and
We
then
have
like
proof.
this week, yeah, it's been a week for sure. I mean, last week too, Raiders 0-1, blah, lost to the Chargers. Went to Baltimore today, 1-1, 26-23. They walk out of Baltimore with a win. Man,
Ooh.
this team is going. It's going to be like this year. It's going to be back and forth, up and down. We're not a great team, but we have some phenomenal great players. So, and they're going to lift each other. They're going to lift us up. They're going to lift the team up and get them past. And it's great. I did not expect them to win that game. I looked at the score and I was like, oh man, everyone's complaining. I wasn't watching it live. Oh man, everyone. It looks like the Raiders suck again. Everyone's complaining on X and socials. And then I look back and it's 23-23, and I was like, whoa. So, anyways, that's how I am all over the place with that.
Meanwhile, my Lions are doing the exact opposite. But, you know,
Yeah, except Aiden Hutchinson is going off. I was like, yeah. I was like, oh, they still lost though. And
they're
it was
still
freaking
lost.
Baker's doing something else. It was a fun day. A lot of good upsets in the NFL.
Let Baker bake. Instead of let him cook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I think I saw you post about this. Are you? I know we're just hanging.
We're hanging.
uh,
Two
you in
dudes
Lincoln
playing
Park?
games.
Are you
I
a Lincoln Park person?
Lincoln Park is my jam. Lincoln Park was we had tickets to the last Lincoln Park tour before Chester
Oh,
passed and had to do refunds. Like we were gonna be that was our first time gonna see them.
oh.
Because I think it was them, A Day to Remember Direct Support, and MGK for reasons unknown. And yeah, we had to do refunds when it happened. Which is sadly my luck. Not to say I'm cursed, but similar thing happened with Soundgarden. We were at their second to last show before he passed, like 2 days before at a festival. I'm like,
Oh,
oh,
geez.
I'm just cursed.
Yeah. Dang, that's crazy. That's crazy. I went to like what was it? K Rock? Yeah, K Rock Almost Acoustic Christmas.
Yep.
When yeah, that's what it was. And they when Chester did his side project Dead by Sunrise. So I saw him live. Didn't see Linkin Park though, but I saw him live, and that was like I was like, all right, I'm happy. At least I saw him because it's still cool. But yeah, I mean, they came back, brought a new singer, going on tour. I'm just so happy they're back. I thought I saw you tweet about it. I was like, I gotta mention
Yeah.
this because Linkin
I
Park is my jam. I made a playlist on the set list from their show in LA that they did. I've been deep into that again, so it's like very nostalgic all of a sudden.
yeah, it's like it's the nostalgia, like it's the good old days thing. And yeah, like obviously I'm excited, and I know a lot of the internet's like we're fighting about it because that's what we do online. But like, no matter what they would have done, nothing would have compared to Chester. So we would have been having these discussions either way.
Mhm.
But the person they got, I have no issues with so far. I know there's like behind the scenes controversies that are being worked out or whatever, but Emily's
Yeah,
doing
but
great for what she had to try and live up to, I guess.
exactly, yeah. There's just so much more to it, and hey, I want more Linkin Park. So, and I'm sad I didn't get could not go to that concert that they did in LA. Obviously, it was so last minute, but
So
man, it looked so cool.
that's why when I tweeted about it, completely like passed my mind. I didn't had no idea that this was happening, and I got off work that day, and it was just ending. And like I saw a clip online, I was like, "Wait, what the hell is this?" And I went and I was like, "They're doing a whole show today, like whole thing." Was like I had no clue any of this was happening.
Yeah, no, they came back fast, and they're hitting the ground running with the lead up to their album now. So I'm excited. I like the new song. I like her style. it's just a different tone, but
Mhm.
it still is the Linkin Park vibe. I like it enough. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it was good. It's been a highlight in a weird week, I would say. We had last week. We got together. Concord, no more. Crazy news story. And then this week started off slow. And you pointed out we have this thing where in our chat talk about episodes. I'm like, hey, there's not a lot going on, and then some crazy shit always happens right after.
yeah, it's just like you're manifesting it or something.
Manifest. Yeah, it happened again this week where we started off. Let's do this in chronological order, just to keep things in check, kinda. But we started off the week PS5 Pro reveal, which we discussed last week, gave predictions on, which I think you were on the lower end as far as like price point of this went, correct? You were like 500s, I think.
I said yeah, I said it needed to be a low, or I thought it'd be more than the base, but like I said I think I said 700 was way too much,
Yeah,
and that's
700
what
is
it
way too
ended up
much.
being.
Yeah. So they did the thing very much what I think people were expecting of this. A very business forward, like Mark Cerny's here to talk to you in his monotone voice about all the changes they're doing. And yeah, it as we mentioned, $700 price tag. Um, the changes include, which I'm happy you're here because the AI stuff is you've been talking about this I feel a while. It has an upgraded GPU with 67% more compute units than the current PS5 and 28% faster memory. Advanced ray tracing, which I feel is already on the PS5, but whatever. Even more powerful ray tracing that provides more dynamic reflections and a refraction of light. And AI driven upscaling, which is PlayStation Spectral Super Resolution PSSR, an AI driven upscaling that uses a machine learning based technology to provide super sharp image clarity by adding an extraordinary amount of detail. And that's about it. Vertical stand sold separately. Digital only console.
And disk drive sold separately.
Yeah, disc drive
I
sold
just
separately.
I don't understand how we are not like talking enough shit about the fact that PlayStation just has to asterisk at the bottom of all their vertical stands sold separately. It's such a little thing that it's not that big of a deal. But how do you not just have that included?
Right?
You advertise, you show the console vertical. I rarely see it on its side. It's always vertical. And the way to achieve that, I'm gonna buy this console. I can't even have it at home out of the box. It's not gonna look like this because I don't have a stand. But also, I'm probably just gonna stand it up on without the stand and not realize that might hurt the console. It's just so funny.
Yeah,
Their messaging is weird. Sorry.
$700 base. If you want the disc drive and a vertical stand, 810 is the final price for this. Which holy crap. I took a 10-minute break at work to watch this as it happened, and I cackled. I audibly was cackling in my car as this was being announced. It
Yeah,
who is
I
this
just
for?
this is a I think this reads to me as we do this, the tech and the isn't there. We can't do enough to get the price. We can only put so much into this box and keep the price not crazy. And we always do a pro. That's what we're gonna do. So when we know people are gonna buy it, but it's not for everyone. There's so many people on PS4 still. This is for people who have been waiting for that. They've been saving up. They can do that. I just it's if you're a hardcore player, I guess. If this is I just don't see any necessary there's nothing in this box that makes this necessary to me. Um Even when they started showing off the games, and I can't wait for people like Digital Foundry to get their report out fully and people to get their hands on it, because this just seems like a stopgap to the next thing more so than other generations, right? Like we've had mid-gen console updates, but I just the PSSR is the DLSS, the deep learning super sampling. It's the AI. They're making frames up so your console now, your PlayStation can perform better. It's their in-house tech, but when they showed it off, you don't really see it. Like, I and it's a compressed YouTube video, but it
Yep.
just seems like this isn't a dramatic shift. This isn't like something that's going to change everything. This is just like, all right, cool. Now we have that tech in a console, which we knew we were going to have, and we know Xbox is doing it. We know, I mean, we have rumors that Nintendo's doing it too. Some of this version of this tech where you're using AI to make the frames in between so it looks smoother for you, and you can have higher fidelity, higher resolution. It's happening. They're all doing it. But like, I just don't see it it's just, how do you show this off? It's just, I don't know. Maybe that's all this comes down to, is you can't really show this off on a YouTube stream. So they just, here it is, bye. And then once it gets in people's hand, maybe it makes a little more sense. But I don't know. It's just like, repainted my car the same color because, it looks cleaner now.
It looks clear.
It's just, which is not a good comparison.
No, to me, this whole thing feels like, if you remember back when we were coming into the PS5 generation, there was talks of like consoles moving towards how phones are, where it's incremental changes every year, every few years, or whatever, and not as big of a jump as we're used to. This feels like that with the wrong messaging behind it to me. Like, if this was just like, if they eased into this, yeah, they had like the Slim and this now, but this feels like this was supposed to be a day one, like the higher tier for those people when the PS5 initially came out. Like, this feels like it should have been the more expensive, and the base one is what we have now, like, should have been the Slim, quote unquote. It's just wild to me. And this whole generation entirely. If you had to guess, do a little game here. If you had to guess, PS5 right now, how many exclusive games are on PS5? What would you guess what we were at right now?
It's under 10.
21 total,
Oh, okay.
counting third party, which still, what are we, 3 years into this, is wild. And when a lot of the games they showed for this, some of them are like PS4 games or PS4 remakes, like, it comes off as like we're trying to do one last double dip for either you have a PS5 already, because I don't think if you're a PS4 person, if you're one of the 50 million people still on PS4, I don't see this being a thing that's like, oh damn, let me jump on this now, finally.
I'd say the majority of PS4 owners probably aren't like that, but I do think there's a good chunk that are economical. They're the, I'm just going to sit and wait, and I can get these games from GameStop or when they go drop on sale digitally for like $10 eventually if I am patient. And there are people like that. So does that mean they're going to buy the most expensive thing day one? Not necessarily, but hey, they've been waiting for this moment. I pick up the Pro, I get all the games that are already out, all the patches that they've already had to place on. Yeah, so who knows? I kind of agree with that too, but I could see it. There's variance there. But with the PSSR stuff, like, it's the developers have to like use it, right? It's not even. It's not like Xbox's FPS boost and stuff like that, where it just automatically makes everything run better. It just, and maybe that isn't just an Xbox thing. Maybe it is the game developers have to utilize it in some way. But at least with the PS4 Pro, it's like, or the PS5 Pro, they they only have so many games that are even going to take advantage of the tech, and not every game is going to be doing it. So is that going to mess up? Are these updates even going to go? Are they going to mess it up on my PS5? Is it going to make it weird? I don't know. It's just interesting.
Yeah, it opens up a lot of questions too. This is announced now. There's the rumors of a state of play or whatever at the end of the month. This releases in November. With the talks, I'm sure you've seen online, I've seen online, people are now pushing more and more for Xbox to get their handheld out in the next year to get ahead of things. They did say they have hardware announcements this year, which have yet to happen.
No, they did. They
What?
announced a new console.
Oh, the 2 terabyte.
Yeah, I know, and they did though.
They did. But do you think like that this changes? Like, do you think now the PS6 is even a next year thing or a 2026 thing? How long of a lifestyle? How long a
I think this
lifespan?
would be. This is. I think it's 2026. PS6. I think they're done with the PS5 now. Outside of faceplates, no one's doing special consoles. So I think, or actually, Xbox still is. uh, but yeah, I think the PS6 would be 2026, 2027. Xbox is in a weird spot now. They in the past they have had a mid-gen update. Xbox One X, the Elite 360s, right? They've done it before. So like I just don't think it's a console. I think it's the handheld. They went the handheld route with that. So but
Mm-hmm.
I think that's next year. They spent they delayed it. Like it's not coming out the same time as the PlayStation or the PS5 Pro. They're delaying it. They're mid-gen. Their handhelds is next year. I just don't know. I don't. It's so. I don't think these consoles. I don't know. I'm rambling on this thought here.
That's fine. I just brought it up because I was thinking about this when I was driving home today. I think I tweeted about this and wrote something up on it at the beginning of the year, where if we didn't have previous things of the Xbox handheld existing, my money now would be on them dropping next gen, quote unquote, next year. Because what they're doing now is pretty much repeating the PS2 cycle to PS3 and three original Xbox 360. Sony's getting cocky again, releasing stuff crazy overpriced that people aren't happy with, as dislikes and the overall discussion about this shows. And Xbox has the opportunity now, or would have, to come in a year earlier, like they did a 360, at a cheaper price. Have, if it's an Elder Scrolls, if the next Halo's ready, Gears E Day, like, have a cool lineup of stuff, but now with the way they've been doing stuff this year, that doesn't make sense for them at all anymore. So it's like, okay, Sony's gonna do this and be unanswered and just move on like nothing happened. I don't know. It's a weird time with not a lot of like known factors on both sides right now. And I'm
Yeah,
go ahead.
it's interesting with the Xbox. Like, what do they do now, right? Because I think we both. This is a weird console, the PS5 Pro, especially at the price point. I'm all down for cool stuff, but it doesn't even compare to like PC specs and like what we're seeing in rumors of. I saw a leak, not a leak, but I saw someone post something. Apparently, it's from Digital Foundry, their Patreon side. It's like, so I haven't vetted this source, but I've seen this enough where it's like they're not even hitting true 4K yet. Anyways, it's still just upscaling on the PS5 Pro. It's just sure it's just using the tech differently to make it look pretty, right? It I don't know. We're getting into specifics on that.
Yeah, that and some games, even stuff they've shown in this showcase, still won't hit 60. I've seen reports of that as
Yeah,
well.
yeah,
Which, like, God, $700. I got bills, man. I can't.
yeah. But yeah, so like moving to the Xbox thing. I think I've said this before, but like Xbox, I don't. I feel like you say yeah, the next gen conversation, your next whatever the next generation of consoles is. I just don't think that's what we're doing anymore. I don't think Xbox has been doing that. I because their UI is the same from Xbox One. By the end of the Xbox One generation, it's the same UI going into the new consoles, right? And it's the same right now. I think they're more platform focused, so it's just going to be what the next console is, what the next place to play. I don't think they're going to be a here's the next. I mean, maybe they actually will say here's the next generation of Xboxes, that Xbox consoles. That's a pretty solid line to say in a promo there. But I just think on the back end, it's not like that. It's just like, all right, we have our handheld, that's the one SKU. We have the home console, that's another SKU, and then we have the platform, which can hit anything. We have our PC as well, you know. So I think that's more of what they're doing. So you saying next year they're doing their full next gen stuff. I not calling it next gen. Yeah, I think internally that would be like, all right, we have our handheld. This is going to reset and recenter and refocus Xbox. They're done with all the layoffs. We'll talk about that. By that point, hopefully it all lines up well. So I kind of get what you're saying.
Yeah, and the other thing that brought that to light now is with their push towards multi-platform, you would assume Xbox has had dev kits of this already. Like if they're doing Bethesda games on PS5, they have PS5 dev kits. They know what Sony's doing ahead of time now. Like if they wanted to go that way.
That's crazy. Yeah. Where is the PS5 Pro? Is Indiana Jones going to be getting any upgraded stuff? I doubt it. I doubt it. I doubt we will not see any X or Microsoft owned studios games. I think that made sense. I don't think we'll see any of those games have PS5 Pro enhancements for a while because of the fact that Sony is ahead. They're the leader. They don't want their competitor to know all the internal specs. Sure, you can put the game on the PlayStation 5. That's fine. We're not going to give you everything, though.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
It's a weird factor in it that before never really had to think about, but now it's like, oh yeah, Xbox would have at some point access to the stuff internally themselves.
Which is funny because how much does that actually what would that actually mean though, right? Xbox gets the PS5 Pro dev kit and they're like, oh whoa, that's how you do this? Duh. I mean, would they actually be able to I don't know. Do they actually would they actually be able to use that to their benefit when making their own stuff? I just feel like behind the scenes in the engineering stuff, sure, there's proprietary stuff that nobody is under kept wraps and secret, but at the end of the day, everyone's doing pretty much there's only so many ways to make stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it's more of the back end stuff. Anyways.
Yeah. It's an interesting thing, and I'll be curious to see what this actually ends up doing throughout the next year, sales wise. But moving on to Xbox, as they've been a part of this. The next day, Xbox came in and they're like, yo, fam, we also like making bad decisions. Have another 650 layoffs from our studios. Which this, I believe, was first done by The Verge. Tom Warren reported on this. And I think someone even said that this went out at 2 in the morning or 3 in the morning the day of to employees. A new memo from Phil Spencer that was sent out. I have on screen. But pretty much just going over how they've tried to minimize disruption while welcoming new teams and enabling them to do their best work. Decision to eliminate approximately 650 roles across Microsoft Gaming, mostly corporate and support functions. Going over how it's difficult to hear and exit packages, stuff like that, back-end stuff that we don't really care about. Stating and making a fact to say that no games, devices, or experiences are being canceled and no studios are being closed as part of these adjustments. And yeah, just another massive hit, which I know some people have tried to say that it's a lot of back end double up jobs again, like HR stuff and office stuff, but at that point, there can't be that many more people of those to get rid of. You got to be over at 1,000 at this point for the year, if that's all you've been trying to lay off.
Oh yeah, they're over 2,000 since they started.
Yeah.
I think it's over 2,000 people they laid off since the merger of Activision Blizzard. Yeah, I mean, what else can we say, right? It's another layoff. It's bad. When you consolidate big companies, there is overlap, of course, unfortunately, and yeah. When you read into all the little stuff, it's yeah, it's all back end business stuff, which unfortunately is if you don't have roles for that, and you're trying to cut costs and save money, and maybe cut it up top first and then go. It's tough. It's tough. Uh, I did see that it's there. They also cut their mobile teams down, like Warcraft Rumble. I think that whole team has moved off of that now. And I know some of the not Warcraft, Call of Duty Warzone mobile team has also got moved off of that. They just both of those are not doing enough for them. So remember, Blizzard did have this push into mobile gaming with Warcraft, with those two games and other titles and such. So it seems like that didn't work.
Well, even
So that's
before
part
then
of
with
it.
Hearthstone. Hearthstone was huge when that came out, and that was sort of their first steps into that space.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize Hearthstone was like first mobile or was a big thing to mobile. Was
Yeah, it
it?
was because that was back when like I'd have to look at when that came out, but it's been I think 10 years now that that's come out. Like it's been around for a while, and still to this day is getting expansions, getting updates, getting stuff added onto it. So there's a community around it still.
Yeah. Yeah. So it just sucks. But when you look at the things, you're like, I mean, yeah, that just seems like those bound to happen. But it's hard to like twist and spin. How are we going to talk about it this time without feeling like we're ignoring the fact that more people just lost their job and now they're out their career, right? And some people have worked here for a long time and they love that they're where they were working, and all of a sudden they get an email at 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. Ridiculous. Like it sucks. You're gonna fire people, but whatever. However, I do wonder every time Microsoft lays off, would this have happened if Activision was still on its own? Would studios be closing? Would Call of Duty just be the same machine? Like, there's a reason Activision was sold, right? There's reasons for that. It has to be money. I mean, it wasn't just I'm gonna make the money and leave whoever that guy was. I don't even remember the CEO anymore um,
Bobby
of
Kotick.
Activision, but yeah, there it is. I was
Fuck
like, I
Bobby
know his
Kotick.
name, but I couldn't think of it. Uh, there's more business, and I'm not a business guy. I don't know it too much, but there's reasons for selling outside of Microsoft being like, here's a bunch of money, and we want your Call of Duty stuff. But so I just wonder, like, what would be the inverse in this alternate reality if Activision stayed the same? Would they have just been closing down studios anyways? I mean, was it? I just don't know. I just feel like there's no way around laying off people uh, when the corporate is making so much more money. I think
Mm.
that's really what it comes down to, is this being a shitty story.
Oh yeah, that's where it's the layoffs nonstop since this has happened. The acquisition happened. We've seen Toys for Bob spinoff. Still in working hands with Microsoft, like they're still working on stuff, but they're out of Activision. And earlier this year, you may have forgotten, Activision opened a new studio. They're Elsewhere Entertainment in May 16th of this year. So, in the middle of laying off thousands of people, you have space and employees to open a new studio in Poland? Like, it's the math
Well, you
ain't
know what?
mathin'.
Yeah, but you can also, I could play, I think it's Devil's Advocate.
Yeah.
Microsoft's coming in and bad boy, not bad boy, Daddy Phil.
Bad
he
boy feel.
was, yeah, I was like, he's not the bad guy in this. Uh, they buy a company and then they look and see the mess and the shit that Activision Blizzard set up with their pillars and all their studios being involved in Call of Duty development. Uh, Blizzard kind of being their own thing, doing their own thing, having Overwatch leagues and stuff like that, and competitive scenes, and then they have their MOBAs and all blah blah blah. It just isn't this just refocusing the whole studio, which was bound to happen? So in the merge of fixing all of Kodak's mistakes, they still were able to make a studio.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty nice. Just to spin it in a weird way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just think it's just like, I mean, no matter what it's hard not to talk about it and go back to the same sentence of it all comes back to corporate consolidation of being bad. But I just feel like this is, no matter what, this was inevitable for Phil. It's just now, when is the end though? And obviously you can't you will never come out as a CEO and say we are done laying off people, because then if you have to lose your job as well, right? You're not going to say that, but like, what is the messaging now? Because there's no way internally. We saw it. I saw you talk about it internally. People are not feeling great. They
Yeah.
see over 2,000 people in their business, either in Activision Blizzard, you're working in there, or even just across the street, digital street, at Bethesda, being like, oh, wow, your boss, Microsoft, your owner is laying off a lot of people. So what is the messaging that Xbox has to do to like just get people to be excited to be there? Because long term, if you ain't happy or you're not feeling great about working at a place, you ain't giving your best. And we already lost a ton of like experience in the games industry across the board, with not just Microsoft, across the board. A lot of people have been laying off and studios have been closing. So there's just a lot of talent and knowledge that has already been lost. But hey, what does Xbox need to do to change the messaging that not only consumers can be like, yeah, we get it, we see the vision, and not feel weird, but also internally, how do you feel good about and feel safe going to work every day? How you not updating your resume and like, all right, let me just make sure my stuff is good, and let me look. Maybe, well, no one's hiring, so you can't even look for jobs either.
Yeah. Which that, as you said, I mentioned it on in the tweet, but there was reports coming out that the day this happened, the 12th, I think it would have been, that Xbox socials were silent. Like there was nothing posted, and they came out that they were told to just take the day off to avoid backlash from this.
Well, I wanted to feel the burn
Feel
again.
the burn with the new controller on the day of layoffs.
Yeah,
Which,
that was the 1900 people, and then they felt the burn with that hot controller.
yeah, which is weird. Like you hear that, and you're like, okay, that kind of makes sense. But then you again
Oh
put
no,
it,
I think that makes so much sense. No, no, no. I'm all on board with that because you have a big company. You already had a big boo boo with like, oh, we scheduled this tweet months ago. Damn it! Like we didn't think about it. So I'm not surprised by that.
no, not at all. But that with hand in hand with the thing of them specifically saying that like nothing's being closed and studios aren't being closed or canceled, like that when I read those together, that's a weird thing of like, yeah, I could see where employees are not really sure about what's going on, and like a lot of these decisions and deals are being held behind closed doors of higher ups higher than Phil, which I've said since a lot of this has started. Like, I don't think a lot of these layoffs are Phil related. I think a lot of
No,
this is
it's
Satya and Microsoft proper coming in now,
mhm.
and they're just kind of puppets and have the do the messaging themselves, and that's why they're kind of, I don't want to say stepping around it because they're obviously like doing these memos and stuff's getting put out, but not wanting to tackle it head on and still try and focus on the positives that are happening and the things they have coming and try and keep somewhat of a positive news story going in spite of all of this.
You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. So I think just being quiet is fine. But yeah, I 100% agree. Like it is Microsoft is saying these things. I mean, Phil did that interview at, which one was it? One of the packs or something. Where he said like, yeah, I mean, they we bought spent $69 billion on Activision Blizzard. Microsoft does expect us to kind of help out a little bit. I forget the quote exactly, but
Mm-hmm.
you read between what he said, you listen between those words. He's telling us exactly. Microsoft is cutting things. It's Microsoft. We're a big corporation. We have way too much numbers running in the black or the red. Red is the red one bad?
Yeah.
Either way, I forget. It's like red or black. Anyway, we're losing money. We need to cut people. You have to do another round of layoffs, and they just have to be the messengers, right? And the gaming community online loves to hate Microsoft and Xbox, so it's just no matter what, they're gonna get a ton of heat. But when you're a big company that just spent $69 billion on that, you're gonna see cuts. And if you're not returning enough fast enough, yeah, it's gonna happen. But yeah, I don't think this is what Phil wants. But I also think, again, you got to reorganize Activision. I think it's a mess that we'll never truly hear about, but they picked up a messed up thing. It's like when you are president and you get a messed up economy and then you have to deal with it and then you fix it and then the next guy says, "Hey, it's real good. Look, it was really bad." It's like, why I had to spend my time fixing it because of you? It's
Mhm.
like, yeah, but you've been bad. Why didn't you fix it yet? Why was it so bad for you?
They're eating the pets, Kyle. They're eating the pets.
Oh man, but that edit, the cats, they're eating
The cats and the dogs.
No, we can't meme them. We
Uh,
can't meme it. It's gonna help.
uh, yeah, it's truly been, and I've seen people online since this acquisition last year. Like, I feel like it really started around the Game Awards time last year. Of hey, new cool announcements. We talked about it. Blades announced. All this cool stuff's announced. But multi-platform. Hey, showcase time. But multi-platform. Hey, we're doing this in handhelds. But layoffs. Like it's just a constant back and forth of good news, bad news, good news, bad news. That doesn't really let them get a running start at anything. And I hope if this is the end of, if it's the end of layoffs, which again, probably not the way this year's gone, I would love if they just, hey, Call of Duty's coming out, doing great numbers. Most it's done in a while. World of Warcraft's doing great, best it's done in a while. Indiana Jones is coming out in December. Stalker's coming out. Like, we have these great games. If I'm throwing a Hail Mary at the Game Awards is when we get the handheld announcement. And then start the year off 2025, continuing on that positive train and reestablish yourself of what you're doing and where you're going and use that turnaround of positivity to focus on the messaging that I've been saying every single podcast this year needs to get better. Like, something's got to give.
Yeah, I mean, they're the only. It's hard because you're the only company with a guy, right? Reggie for Nintendo left, and Doug Bowser isn't going around. He's leaving too, right? Yeah, it's all. You see, Nintendo doesn't have a guy anymore. PlayStation doesn't have a guy. They bring out Mark Cerny, but right, that's not the guy who's sitting on the couch playing games with you, who's online playing Diablo all the time that you can see on your friends list. So it's just it's like, hey, we're your bro, and now it's like, okay, well, we have to you stop yelling at us.
Yeah.
We don't want to talk about everything, but bro, you got to talk about everything. Phil, you're our bro. Hang out with us. It's like, no. So it's hard when the messaging is we're your friend, hang out with us, and then but we're also a corporation. So it's just jarring, right? And they're your buddy, and then they're a corporate cold post in the 2 a.m.
Yeah, it's a weird, like, parasocial thing that's built up, which in the good days, like, yeah, it was cool. Like, oh, hey, this guy who's in charge of all this stuff is one of us, like, just a guy, like you said. But now, when they got to step up and do the bad things, and
Do their job.
it becomes more of a direct attack on the fans, I feel, than it would have if it would have just been, hey, their CEO, who you kind of hear the name of every once in a while, did this and this. But because it is someone who's media forward, does interviews, is on stage, doing these things, it becomes more of a personal, like, well, what the shit? Like,
Yeah, it seems like it definitely becomes like Phil Spencer is personally firing all these people. It's like, no, he's just the CEO and he has a team of people and a lot of people who are like, here are 12 different options we have. It's not that they just said, all right, well, this saves money. Here we go. They talk about it, right? That's all they do. They're just sitting there talking like we are. We're the same. But they have projections, they have estimations, and this was just the one that unfortunately made the most sense for them and where they're going. I do want to bring up on the same day on The Verge, Tom Warren, they hired a new operations officer uh, in the. Sorry, I lost my foot. They hired a new person, chief operating officer, specifically to help accelerate our company-wide AI transformation, according to Nadella. So that's fun.
it's AI again.
So on that same, yeah. So on that same day, they fired all those people, hired a new chief operations officer, which is according to this, a role that blah, blah, blah. I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time talking today. The role fills the lack of a chief operating officer since 2016. It's been empty since 2016, which is interesting. So they haven't had someone in that role. So I thought that was interesting. That's someone to run the operations of everything. Did they fire the people to hire a person? No. But specifically, like, everything is shifting and changing for AI. AI isn't just, look at this fun image I made of a dog, right? It's hey, it's pointing out what was the one I saw? It's finding breast cancer before sooner than ever before because of
Mhm.
AI, right? Because they can track and just think and do so much more. It's stuff like that. It's the computing, the deep level sampling, the frame generation stuff. Like that's what AI is. That's super cool. So like everything is shifting to that. And I don't know what it's gonna look like though. And how does that affect games? Who knows?
Which that goes in, uh, as I said, hired to help accelerate our company-wide AI transformation. That goes back to PS5 Pro stuff to me, honestly. Like, hey, it's got this PlayStation specific thing they're doing on the back end with their AI scaling. If that's something that is done differently in a way Xbox could not copy, because obviously that's legal shit, but
I mean,
improve their side of things with and learn from it, yeah, they're gonna do it. Like, that's across the board. It's not just Xbox, it's Microsoft, it's Surface, it's Windows, it's
reading this now, it actually reads differently. It will help accelerate our company-wide AI transformation as cheap
cheap.
operations officer. So that's just getting like everyone in the company. Like that's like the daily operation stuff, right? So to me, that seems more it's going to be like getting everyone on board using AI tools within the company and such, and how to use AI. But who knows? Interesting other overall. It just, yeah, everything's going to AI. I don't think this is a move or they'd be jumping into AI because PS5 Pro. I think they're jumping in because of Nvidia. And I think once Nvidia figure that tech out with like honestly the 30 series and the 40 series cards, like that seems to be the push and everyone's like, "Oh, we finally see how this can be like incredibly helpful and make games that run smoother but are less taxing on our systems." I would hope that Microsoft has already been working on their version of this, whether it's partnered with AMD or NVIDIA, whoever, or whether it's their own, I would assume their own proprietary thing. Um, I would hope that this has already been working on.
Yeah, it'll be something to watch out for sure. Like you said, it's not something they're just jumping into now. Like, it's these things have been in the work for the past year. Like, AI has slowly, like I said, I think still needs to like prove itself in the business aspect of things, like you were mentioning. Because I feel like a lot of people, it is still that generating pictures or videos and like the legal issues with that. But getting it more in the back end of tech and helping it run things better or do things better, I feel like that's still yet to be shown off truly at a consumer level, I guess. So yeah, if whatever they're working on next is able to do that, run with it.
I want to be able to run with it
You
on my
want
Xbox handheld.
Xbox handheld. You don't want that Xbox handheld they had in their new Friends tab feature that they posted.
You were the one. I said that, and you said you replied, and you're like, "That's not even that. It's the ROG Ally." No, I mean it is. It's 100% is. I saw that. I just wanted the shit post. But yeah, they are bringing back friend request on Xbox. That's fun.
Don't have a bunch of random people adding you and stalking you on the back end. But moving on, the same day, September 12th, Kyle, we had another company that was like, "Hold my beer, we want to get on top of this." Annapurna Gaming entire staff quit. on the 12th. Which I'm still, I don't know if you know more than I do. I've been trying to read up on this and what this means. Um,
So specifically, Annapurna Interactive, the
Interactive,
video
yeah,
game publishing division
because they
of
do
Annapurna
movies,
Studio.
TV, they do other things. The staff exodus, this comes from Variety on the 12th. The staff exodus came after a breakdown in talks between Ellison, who is like a multi-billionaire, the owner of Annapurna proper. It's a whole family-run thing, and Nathan Gray, formerly president of Annapurna Interactive, to spin the gaming unit off as a separate company. Quote, all 25 members of the Annapurna Interactive team collectively resigned, Gary and the other employees said in a joint statement Thursday to Bloomberg. This is one of the hardest decisions we have ever had to make, and we did not take this action lightly. Which, holy crap, this is weird. Like, we thought the
Oh,
Concord...
walkout, hell yes.
Yeah, we thought the Concord ending after a week was wild. Nah, this is even on the same level, I would say, having a whole, like, team just leave. Which, Annapurna, for people who don't know, isn't like... They publish indies mostly, like they're an indie publisher, but they have had bangers and have made a name for themselves time and time again. Everything from What Remains of Edith Finch was one of their first things, Flower, Gone Home, Donut County, Thirsty Suitors this year, which we both played, Outer Wilds. Like, they have had banger after banger, and it leads to wonder what caused the talks to. I'm sure the family of Annapurna proper didn't want to lose out on that money because they are doing, I would say, probably better than their TV and movie stuff looking at it. And it leaves a weird place. A lot of reports coming out now that the projects they were working on before this they're still working on having them go on as planned, which that includes Wonder Stop, which was announced at the Game Awards last year, I believe. Mixtape, which was announced at the Xbox Showcase this year. From the Artful Escape team. So they have, it looks about 8 or 9 projects that are in the pipeline still, and hopefully they don't be affected by this, but weird.
Annapurna Pictures helped make Sausage Party. That's weird.
Gross.
Just looking through their all the stuff they've made, they've merged it. If you go to annapurna.com, it's like the list. It's a weird website, but it's like their games mixed with their publishing or with their picture stuff. They just have everything on there, which is so interesting. Which is cool. Yeah, this was wild to hear. This came out and was yeah, I mean it's Annapurna, right? Like Annapurna just keeps coming out with phenomenal games. They just keep like they just have this the sauce and knowing what games to pick up and to help get through to completion to help publish them. I mean, Cocoon, I forgot about Cocoon and I remember that's a game of the year contender this year.
It's on my backlog list still.
It's so good. Oh my gosh. Yeah, Lush Foils photography sim. Just a like the mixtape. I can't wait for it. There's just so many all over the place. They're such a cool publisher. I think it's going to be interesting to know more, right? Because they walked out because the company did their own, like their boss didn't want to continue to talk about how to split them off to be their own company, which so they just left. They said, "Fine, we'll do it ourselves." Or that's not. We'll see what they do. But yeah, just the ramifications of this are going to be interesting. This is something that hasn't happened like that before. I know it. I don't know if you said this. Might have missed it, but earlier this year, Annapurna Interactive's top executives quit, but none of the team had. So now the team finally did. So yeah, it just seems like this publishing team, this publishing arm of a studio that has been doing some solid work. They want to be independent, and the nepo baby billionaire won't let them. So we'll see what this turns into. This is wild, though.
Yeah,
I feel like it's like I feel good. Like that's a good thing for them, even though they're now in a shitty position with no jobs. But if they're not going to in good faith, like at least like talk about it, and they say they pulled out of negotiations. They just said, "All right, we're done then. If you're going to pull out of negotiations, that's it." And we don't even know what the negotiations were. Maybe this wouldn't have made sense for Annapurna Interactive to be an independent thing. Who knows? This is just fascinating to see, and it just puts, yeah, you wonder about all those games now, right? I saw specifically the Lush Foil Photographer Sim Respawn post. I was like, I think we should be good. Like it's almost done, but we're trying to figure it out too. So, just a messy thing for people trying to figure out how to just get their game published, and now they have to potentially, who knows, find a whole new publisher or whatnot. And that's
Yeah,
more the long term projects, though.
yeah, and this very much could be like now it's a big thing, but depending on how Annapurna proper is, like I could easily see it's being just, oh, we rehired a bunch of new people and we're continuing on like normal and just moving past this like nothing happened. But if that happens, I'm curious on what that means for their output in the future. Because obviously, like you mentioned, those people there had the eyes to pick up and partner with these studios for really cool shit. Like Annapurna was one of those things when you're watching the Game Awards, watching a showcase, and their logo pops up behind something. Like that's something you sit forward for and like want to pay attention to. And
Right.
if
I didn't realize Annapurna Pictures was a thing. I would have said Annapurna Interactive was first. I would have said they made games or they publish games and then they're spinning off into TV. That's where it is for me. So like for for them to like that whole arm be gone, it's like that was what to me made you more known. But
mm-hmm.
again, that's just my sphere.
No, 100%. That's why I feel like I mentioned. I feel like that's why the talks failed because, in my eyes, interactive is their biggest thing they have. Because yeah, like you mentioned, looking at their TV stuff and movies, it's I'm sure if you're an indie like film snob or something, a lot of the stuff is like real cool, but from like mainstream appeal, a lot of this stuff I've either never heard of or just have never it, like doesn't cross my mind. Whereas the games, it is something where people pay attention to more and looked at in a higher regard than something from a smaller publisher or what have you.
Look, when you have a publishing arm that has helped release games such as Outer Wilds, Stray, Cocoon, award-winning games, you you should probably listen to them and help them out. At least keep them involved or let them do their thing. We'll
Journey.
see.
They published Journey.
Oh my god. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what the next stuff is because do they make their own publishing thing? Obviously, there's non-compete stuff, so we'll see if they
Mm.
signs a non-compete clause there. But yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. Best of luck to, as you mentioned, the games that are in the pipeline. Hopefully stuff doesn't get affected too much. Again, it's not development side of things, it's publishing side of things, but that still can take a sharp turn with core pieces taken out. And yeah,
Yeah,
this was on the 12th, so going through the weekend and Friday, maybe some new stuff breaks out about it on Monday, or we get updates, or something happened over the weekend. But time will tell.
it's just crazy going through the games they put out.
Banger after banger after banger.
Banger after banger.
Before we go, Kyle, I want an update talking about bangers on your time with Persona 3, because I haven't played nothing this week outside of Astro. Got the Platinum Wednesday night, fantastic, still 10 out of 10 game.
Yeah.
But I haven't played anything else this week. But you've been JRPGing it up, getting your fantasy stuff going. How's it
Yes.
going?
Yeah, I started Persona 3 this week in earnest. All because I played Dungeons of Hinterberg and I love that, and I think it was IGN's review, like, or compared it to Persona, and I saw other people talk about that. I watched reviews, and it just kept getting brought up, and I was like, all right, well, let me. It just and in Xbox, it's on Game Pass, and they have their perks, and they're like, you get the expansion and all this stuff. It's right here. I'm like, all right, you guys are hitting me over the head with Persona 3 Reload specifically. So I downloaded it and I started it. I'm about 6 hours in, which is early, or I think I'm like 7 now. Still early on. I'm getting tutorials, and I'm like, how am I still getting tutorials? This is huge. It's fun though.
This is the
Also,
introduction.
the fact like the intro, I'm like, what is going on with this game? It's wild. I still don't understand the personas. I don't understand why they shoot themselves in the head to use the personas with the thing. It's so confusing. But there's just one thing, the vibe of playing it is good. The music, hold on, hey, get this off the screen. I don't want spoilers. What is that?
This is the
How dare you?
review.
I put the stream down. You can leave it up. How dare you? I don't want to see that. Um, I'm enjoying it. I really am. There's something, the story is starting to grab me. Going around and getting your social links, I just am truly loving. I think that aspect of Dungeons of Hinterberg was one of the highlights. So it makes sense now. I'm playing in Persona. I'm like, oh yeah, this is really fun. Um, the combat is losing me the most, being turn based. That's like the biggest disappointment. But I do like that I'm walking around finding stuff. Um, you walk around, and then when you interact with a shadow, an enemy, you either can get an attack off. At least so far, who knows? This might totally change. You get an attack off first. You then get like the go first in the turn, or if they get you, then they get to go first. So you get to walk around and like get the treasure chest, and that's cool. That keeps me engaged enough. Uh, and then once you get into the turn-based combat, I just got the tutorial where they're like, you can rush combat, and I was like, oh, okay, I okay, cool. So if you're giving me a mechanic that lets me speed up combat, I could probably get through it. Obviously, you choose when to because uh, the fights can get kind of tough. I died once, and I was like, I like how they do that.
Mhm.
Story unwritten. I was like, oh man. Um, but yeah, I am excited to keep playing more. There's something like I said, I don't know what's going on, but story wise, but I really am liking the social link stuff. That grabbing me in Dungeons of Hinterberg and Persona is really, it's cool to recognize that in myself because now I'm like, all right, what other games can be doing this? Because I think I really like this, like up your relationship score with each other, have that give you stuff in for the game, like you get more you upgrade. That's how you upgrade your different personas, by increasing your social links and such. So yeah, I'm still early on, but I am very much enjoying it. Would not have thought I would be playing Persona 3 this year, especially because of Dungeons of Hinterberg. What a fascinating little thing.
Yeah, I remember when we were doing dungeons and you mentioned that you saw someone compared it to Persona, and I didn't think about it that way till you said that. I'm like, oh shit, yeah, it's very much like you said. The game is essentially split up into two parts: your real life social sim, essentially during the day, where you're hanging out with people, going to do stuff with them, activities with them, and that gives you buffs and stuff in the combat sort of exploration stuff at night. And it's a weird. I like how it's done in a lot of I like Dungeons and Hinterberg, where you can kind of focus in on one certain thing and look ahead. If I increase my relationship status with this person, I'll get an extra item slot or gear slot or something like that. So you can really kind of pick and choose how you want your story to evolve. And a lot of it is like side stuff. Like it doesn't really affect main story, so it's you don't feel like you're missing out by not spending equal time with everyone or doing whatever. But yeah, Persona 5 was my first. I mentioned I think last week, and a lot of the same thoughts where the combat kind of wore down on me for a bit, which even be a JRPG guy sucked. Um, I got, I think, to the sixth or seventh boss and had to just completely quit. Like I physically couldn't get past it. I was looking up guides, looking up stuff online. Like I don't know if it was my build at the time or what have you, but I physically had to stop the game and sadly couldn't beat it before it was taken off the service. But it's a vibe. Persona in general is a vibe. I have Uh, I'm a heathen, and I have like a master music list on Spotify, I have like 5,000 songs, and I openly have some of the Persona tracks on there. Cycle through every now and then.
Oh, I'm definitely gonna add the soundtrack. Yeah, I am. I like when I finish the fight fast and like the music doesn't like pop off yet. And I'm like, oh, like they just started singing the line. I'm like, yeah, this music's cool. When you hear it multiple times, it gets in your head. But
Mhm.
yeah, I feel like playing Dungeons of Hinterberg was like a tutorial for Persona. I'm like, as I'm playing Persona so far, I'm like, oh, I like this as opposed to what they did in Hinterberg, which isn't fair to Hinterberg at all. But it's kind of cool. It's like, oh yeah, that's I wanted more of this. Like in Hinterberg, you go out in the morning, in the after, or you go out all day. Essentially, you're walking around, and then you only have the evening to talk to people. Whereas this, it's essentially the same thing, but given how it's like this, I don't know how it's portrayed to me. I like that it's at night that I'm going out and doing the combat and exploring and that stuff. I don't know. There's just something about it. I like it. So I'm excited to keep exploring that. But I also got taken away. The one last thing I want to talk about. I
Ooh, please
didn't play
do.
as much as I wanted to this week because there's an open beta right now for New World Eternum over on Xbox. That's Amazon's MMO. It's coming to consoles. They had a closed beta last weekend, or at some point, they had a closed beta that I saw Xbox Insider app. Opted in and I was able to play a little bit of that. I have New World on my Steam. I did buy it. It was like on sale for $20, and I said I did it. Uh, I just haven't played that much of it though, unfortunately. But open beta on consoles. It looks gorgeous. I've played it on both Series S and X. Series S is definitely way fuzzier. Uh, definitely fuzzier, but it's a MMO, so I'm not too annoyed about that. But on my Series X, I thought it looked really, really good. I am kind of, I don't know. This I did not expect this to be like, Kyle, you want to play this? The combat feels really good on controller. It feels really good. You have your classes, right? I've played the sword and shield boy. That feels good. They have a great sword now, so you can have a heavy like sword thing. So that's fun. I went with ranger with the bows. It's just fun and it feels good on console. So yeah, I that's cool.
Yeah, it's interesting. Everything you play, like I saw you playing Persona, I was like, that's not a Kyle thing. And I saw you were playing Neural, I was like, that doesn't seem like a Kyle thing either. But what? It's this I don't want to say passed me over, but at the time this was coming out, I was big into a bunch of like other WoW creators, World of Warcraft creators that got early access and are doing this day one because it was the new thing, and probably unfairly because it is a new MMO, which is a hard thing to do. Like it's not something that just succeeds overnight. But back then it was lack of content stuff, lack of end game stuff, lack of whatever it is, which gets patched over time, sure. But being there initially, it kind of left a bad taste in my mouth from a distance, so it's never been something I wanted to jump into. And I wasn't even paying attention enough to know it was on Xbox till you said it was. And it sucks because, like, yeah, it seems like they've built up, and obviously going on console, they're sure of themselves enough to branch out more with what they have. But it just comes at a terrible time when WoW released a new expansion, and that's my main focus, where I don't physically have time for another MMO to want to check this out.
That's fair.
But yeah, it's cool, having
But
fun.
yeah, so
It's
but
like
yeah, so it's like a big new expansion. I thought I did the closed beta. I'm going to talk about it. They let you choose max level or like a new level. So I did max. I never got the max level on when I played it first. So that was fun exploring all the end game level stuff type thing. But then this one on the open beta, they make you start from scratch, everyone. So going through the new story intro was way better than what it used to be. That intro is better. It's more interesting. I still have a problem with MMOs where I get bored and I start clicking fast. I'm like, all right, I'm done reading. So then I don't know what I'm doing sometimes. But, you know, I don't want to buy this because this would be the most just checklist. Sit down at night, and go do your checklist in New World. Go log, go cut your trees, go make some wood, timber, go sell it. Do all that stuff. But yeah, we'll see how it does on console. I thought it ran, like I said, it ran well. So if only there was another game that would be coming to console. If only another MMO could do it.
One day. If only it was a
Yeah,
first party MMO that could do it.
it's inevitable, especially with this. It's on. They took unless, I mean, here's the thing. They could have been making New World from the beginning knowing it's going to go to console.
Mm-hmm.
But this went to PC first. This was on Steam. Like this was an MMO. Now they're putting it on console and it feels good. Like it works. I think it works. It looks good. WoW is very different, of course, combat wise too.
Yeah,
Very
very
different
much
than
so.
New World because you're hack and slashing with a sword. You're with a bow, aim down sights type thing. So that's not WoW. So some things to figure out there, but man, if they could figure it out, I think they're working on it.
I could hope. I could only hope. With that, though, be the end of our episode this week. As I said, it was a wild, weird week. Who knows about next week? We could have a state of play in between now and next Sunday. We have no idea. But we'll be back next Sunday, catching up on all the news, what we're playing. Hopefully, I have time to play stuff now that Astrobot's finished. As we continue to barrel ahead towards the fall season and a ton of other big games coming out. We will catch you all next Sunday. Be good to each other. Happy gaming. And peace out.
Bye. Goodbye.